Do you know that answering one simple question from a cop could be the same as confessing to a crime right there on the side of the road? Most drivers have absolutely no idea that those casual words coming out of their mouth are being used against them in real time. The officer already knows the answer. He just wants to hear you say it. Hit subscribe right now, because what I am about to show you could be the difference between driving home tonight or sitting in the back of a squad car. This information comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, and defense attorneys use it every single day to keep their clients out of prison. You need this before your next traffic stop. Here is what we are covering today. The exact words you should never say when a cop asks where you are coming from. The legal response that shuts down any follow-up investigation. The real reason cops ask this question in the first place, and what they are actually looking for. And a full scenario walkthrough showing you the wrong way versus the right way, so you can see exactly what each choice costs you. This is not guesswork. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern is always the same. Drivers talk themselves into trouble every single time. Here is the reality. A traffic stop starts the moment those lights come on behind you. The officer has already run your plate. He already has a basic read on you. But what he does not have yet is a reason to go further. That reason? Most of the time, you hand it to him voluntarily. He walks up to your window and says those 7 words. Where are you coming from today? And just like that, the investigation is already underway. You do not feel it yet. You think you're just having a polite conversation. But legally, everything you say from that moment forward is fair game. It can be written in his report. It can be quoted in court. It can be used to establish probable cause for a search, a detention, or an arrest. Most people have no idea they are being interrogated. It does not feel like an interrogation. He is smiling. His voice is friendly. Maybe he is even making small talk. But every single word out of your mouth is being processed and evaluated for inconsistency, for nervous behavior, for anything that gives him legal justification to take this stop further. The mistake most drivers make is treating this like a regular conversation. It is not a regular conversation. It is a legal encounter, and there are rules that protect you completely, but only if you know how to use them. Let me show you exactly how this goes wrong first. Bad way. The officer leans on your window and asks where you are coming from. Most drivers say something like this. Oh, I was just at my friend's house. We were hanging out. Nothing crazy. Then the officer says, your friend live around here? How long were you over there? And now you are explaining yourself. You are giving details. You're creating a story that he is going to check for holes. You have just turned a 2-minute traffic stop into an investigation. Watch what happens next. He asks you to step out. He says your story seems inconsistent. He claims he has reason to believe something might be going on. And now you are standing on the side of the road while he tears through your car. Good way. Smart drivers know the answer to that question is simple and legal. You look at the officer and say exactly this. I would rather not say, officer. That is it. 4 words. You're not being rude. You're not breaking any law. You're exercising a right that the 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution gives you. The right to remain silent and not provide information that could be used against you. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court to demonstrate that their client did everything right from the very first second. The officer cannot punish you for silence. He cannot legally extend the stop based solely on your refusal to answer. What he can do is finish writing the ticket and send you on your way. Why does this work? Because when you answer that question, you create a trail. If you say you were at a bar, now he is looking for signs of impairment. If you say you were at a neighborhood he associates with drug activity, now he is looking for narcotics. If you give any answer at all, you have given him a starting point for a much deeper investigation. Silence gives him nothing, and nothing is your best protection right now. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, and it is 100% legal in every state in this country. Have you ever been asked this exact question during a traffic stop? Drop a comment below telling me what you said, because I guarantee most of you answered it without even thinking twice. Now, here is what happens after you refuse to answer. The officer is going to push a little. They are trained to. He might say something like, I'm just making conversation. It is not a big deal. Or he might shift to a different question, hoping you will open up. This is where the second tactic becomes critical. Here's the trick they do not want you knowing. The follow-up question is almost always a trap in disguise. After you refuse to say where you're coming from, the next question is usually something like, have you been drinking tonight? Or do you have anything illegal in the car? These questions feel direct. They feel like you have to answer yes or no. But you do not. Here's exactly what you say to both of those questions. Officer, I am going to respectfully decline to answer questions. Not aggressive, not confrontational, calm, clear, and legally bulletproof. Bad way. Driver gets nervous at the follow-up question and says, no, I have not been drinking. I only had like 2 beers, but that was hours ago. Watch what happens. The officer now has an admission. You consumed alcohol. That is enough for a field sobriety test. That is enough to extend the stop. That is enough to escalate from a routine ticket into a DUI investigation. 2 beers, hours ago, and you just handed him everything he needed. Good way. Smart drivers say this instead. Officer, I'm going to respectfully decline to answer questions. Then they stop talking. Complete silence. The officer has nothing. He has a person who is not answering, which is entirely legal, and he has a traffic stop that legally needs to conclude, once he is done with the ticket or warning. I have analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and this response, delivered calmly and without attitude, results in the driver being sent on their way the vast majority of the time. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection against self-incrimination during a routine stop. The legal backing here is solid. The Fifth Amendment protects you from being compelled to be a witness against yourself. That protection applies during traffic stops, not just in courtrooms. You do not have to answer investigative questions. You are required to provide your license, registration, and proof of insurance in most states. That is it. Beyond those documents, silence is your right, and it is 100% legal to exercise it. Are you starting to see how many rights you have been giving away? Keep watching, because the next one trips up even smart people. Here's the third tactic, and this one saves you when the officer decides to push harder. Sometimes, after you have said nothing, after you have declined to answer questions, the officer will say, I need you to step out of the car. And every driver feels that moment like a punch to the chest. Your heart rate spikes. You feel like you have no choice. But you have a very important choice in that moment, and most people do not know what it is. Listen closely, because this is critical. Stepping out of the car when asked is legally required. You must comply with that order under Pennsylvania v. Mims, a Supreme Court case from 1977. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings that are still in effect today. In plain language, the court said officers can order you out of the vehicle during a lawful traffic stop. You get out. But that does not mean you consent to anything that comes next. The moment your feet hit the pavement, here is what you say. Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Those exact 10 words. You say them calm and clear. Here is the reality. If he says you are free to leave, you walk away, politely and immediately. If he says you are being detained, your next line is this: I do not consent to any searches. 6 words. Say them once and then stay quiet. Bad way. Driver gets out of the car and the officer says, you mind if I take a quick look? Most drivers say, sure, I have nothing to hide. Watch what happens. The officer searches the car. Maybe he finds something small. Maybe he finds something major. Maybe he finds something that belongs to someone else. It does not matter. You consented. Whatever he found is now admissible in court, and your trial has basically already started. Good way. Smart drivers step out, stay calm, and say this: am I being detained or am I free to leave? And then if detained, I do not consent to any searches. Former police officers have confirmed this works. It does not guarantee the officer won't search anyway, but it creates a legal record that you did not consent. If he searches without a warrant and without consent, whatever he finds could potentially be thrown out of court entirely. That is your protection. That is what these words build for you. Most people already clicked away from this video. If you are still here, you are in the top 10% of drivers when it comes to knowing your rights. Drop a comment right now saying, I am still here, because you have learned more than most people learn in a lifetime. Let us talk about the legal foundation. The first case is Terry v. Ohio from 1968. Reasonable suspicion must be based on facts. Your silence alone cannot be reasonable suspicion. Just because you did not want to talk does not mean you did wrong. The second case is Berkmer v. McCarty from 1984. What you say during a traffic stop can and will be used against you. The third case is Rodriguez v. United States from 2015. Once the purpose of the stop is complete, the officer cannot extend it. Now let me show you what this looks like from start to finish. You pull over, lower your window, and place hands on the wheel. The officer asks where you are coming from. You say, I would rather not say, officer. He tries again about drinking. You say, I'm going to respectfully decline to answer questions. He writes the ticket. He says, you are free to go. That is the difference between 30 seconds of legal silence and a night that changes your life. Subscribe for next week.